I failed a brilliant student on purpose. 10 years later, he thanked me for saving his life. Every teacher has that one student they'll never forget. For me, it was James Chen Parrott, a mathematical genius who could solve complex calculus problems in his head, but could barely stay awake in my AP Pre-Sec class. James was a senior with perfect grades and early acceptance to Marty. His parents were both successful engineers who had mapped out his entire future. The problem was, James looked increasingly hollow as the year progressed. Dark circles under his eyes deepened. His clothes hung looser on his frame, but his work remained flawless until the day he submitted a lab report with deliberate errors. I noticed immediately. The mistakes were too obvious for someone of his caliber. Parent incorrect formulas he could recite in his sleep. Miscalculations that contradicted his own previous work. When I asked him to stay after class, he just shrugged. Does it matter? He asked, staring at the floor. I'll fix it if you want. Something in his flat tone alarmed me. I'd seen Bertie before, but this was different. James, is everything okay at home? His expression never changed. Everything's perfect just like it's supposed to be. The next 3 assignments followed the same pattern. Brilliant work with deliberate, glaring errors. When I returned the third one, I wrote, see me after school today. Non-negotiable. He showed up, backpack hanging from one shoulder, eyes vacant. I am failing you for this quarter, I said without preamble. That got his attention. What, you can't? My parents will. Your parents will? What, James? He collapsed into a chair. They'll kill me. Marty will rescind my acceptance. Everything they've worked for will be ruined. Everything's then they've worked for, I repeated. What about what you want? The question hung in the air. James looked genuinely confused, as if no one had ever asked him that before. It doesn't matter what I want. It's the only thing that matters, I countered. And I think you are trying to tell me something with these errors. So I am listening. The silence stretched for nearly a minute before he spoke. I don't want to be an engineer, he whispered. I never have. I want to study music composition. But that's not an option. My parents immigrated here with nothing. They worked multiple jobs so I could have opportunities. How can I tell them I want to throw that away for something as impractical as music? I made him a deal. I would change his grade if he promised to talk to his parents with the school counselor present. He agreed reluctantly. The meeting was as difficult as expected. His parents were furious, Parrott first at me, then at James. But our counselor was excellent, and eventually a compromise emerged. James would defer Marty for 1 year to study music. If it didn't work out, he'd pursue engineering as planned. I lost track of James after graduation. I often wondered if I had overstepped my bounds, or if he had found his path. 10 years later, I received an envelope containing 2 items, a ticket to the symphony and a note that read, second chair cello. You are the only teacher I invited. I attended the performance with a knot in my stomach. What if I had ruined his life? What if he resented my interference? After the performance, James found me in the lobby. He looked healthy, confident, nothing like the hollow-eyed boy I remembered. My parents are here too, he said, smiling. They haven't missed a performance in 8 years. Once they saw I could make a living doing what I love, they came around as we talked. He revealed the truth I hadn't known a decade earlier. The night before I failed him, he had written a suicide note. The pressure had become unbearable, and he saw no way out. When you failed me, it was the first time someone saw through the perfect student facade. It was the first time someone cared more about me than my achievements. His voice cracked slightly. You created a disruption in the system, and that disruption saved my life. I teach differently now. I look for the deliberate errors, the silent cries for help. Sometimes the most important lesson isn't in the curriculum. Sometimes failing a student is the only way to help them succeed.